How's it going, guys? It's your boy Brown Tall Guy. Welcome back to the garage. Today we got the blue XJ in the garage, and today we're gonna change out the exhaust manifold. Now the reason why I'm changing is because there's a lot of rattling noise happening down there, and I went ahead and I sprayed some soapy water here, and there's a lot of bubbles coming out here. So not only do I have a bunch of rattling noise happening here, I also have a exhaust leak happening over here, which means it could be the gasket, or it could be a crack head. I'm thinking I do have a crack head because I tightened the bolts on the flange nut, and basically the exhaust is solid, but for some reason when I'm accelerating I can hear it rattling right here. So I'm thinking there's probably something cracked on the manifold. So I got a new one right here. We're gonna go ahead and install this one. Now this one comes with a heat shield. I might have to remove it because I was looking online. There's a lot of reviews saying that the heat shield gets in the way with the engine mount. So we'll see what we can do. I also got some new hardware here for the bolts and nuts, and I got a new gasket, and also came with some hardware itself. So we're gonna go ahead and install this in the car. Of course we're gonna have to remove all this stuff here to get access to it. Now I did this to the black XJ when I was changing out the head, so it shouldn't be that hard, and plus this is a 4-cylinder, so it's less parts I need to remove. But hopefully everything comes out today, and hopefully I can get it done like within a couple of hours. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start removing everything. Of course, the first thing I'm gonna remove is the air intake system, and then the fuel rail, and then the power steering. I can put it to the side. So I'm just gonna start disconnecting stuff, and I'll get back to you.
Conflicts.
Alright guys, update. So I managed to remove the throttle body, all the sensor cables, all the vacuum hoses. I went ahead and disconnected some of the sensors here. Let me show you what this 2.5 liter throttle body looks like. So basically here's your throttle body, and this is like a spacer, and it has 2 gaskets. In case you guys are doing this, just remember there's 2 gaskets, one on the bottom, one on the top. This thing sits on here, bolts down on 4 bolts, and you have like this this nut and the spacer that holds down the freaking throttle body cable housing, which is this right here. Alright, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna unbolt the power steering pump away from the intake manifold, and then we can start removing and unplugging all the cables for the fuel injectors, and remove the fuel rail out of the way. And that's basically all to it. After that, we can start removing the intake manifold, I think. Way easier. This honestly is way easier and way quicker than the 4.0 on the black XJ. So we're gonna go ahead and just continue this. Hopefully I can get all this done within the next 20 minutes. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and depressurize the fuel rail. Basically there's a little pin here, similar to like a car tire. We're just gonna press it, and the fuel should leak out due to the pressure. Alright, so I went ahead and released the pressure from the fuel rail. So now I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the fuel injectors and pull out the fuel rail. And then that's basically it. And then after that I can go ahead and start tackling the bolts on the intake manifold. Alright guys, I managed to pull out the fuel rail. For some reason, one of the ejectors got stuck on the intake manifold right there. There's not a problem. Now I was unable to remove the line from the fuel rail. I was using this fuel rail disconnect tool here and I placed it in, but for some reason I guess it's so corroded that it does not want to break free. See? Does not want to break free, so I just managed to snake it out of the way. It's perfectly fine. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and just remove the intake manifold bolts. There's only two, one here, and then this thing comes off, and then there's a couple of bolts for the exhaust. Alright guys, I managed to take out the exhaust manifold completely. Now this was really damn easy. That just because the previous owner did this already when he changed the head. So the bolts and stuff didn't give me any hard time. So here is the old manifold. Now there is no significant like crack, hairline fracture anywhere on it. But you never know. Sometimes they're mad thin and they seal up sometimes when the temperature changes, so it's pretty hard to detect it. But I did have, if you check over here, all this dark stuff here, I did have an exhaust leak at the gasket here, and this side a little bit too, not so much on the middle. Also I noticed that over here, these ears here are really worn down compared to the new one. You can see over here, looks like it's just got rusty and chipped away. So I'm gonna go ahead and just replace this with the new one. Now I went ahead and I rested the new one on the engine head and noticed that this little piece right here is hitting the engine mount, so I need to cut this out so I can fit it. And I also need to clean up the intake manifold, just clean out all that disgusting old gasket and make everything clean. The new gasket is right here, and it came with this, which I still don't understand where this goes. I also went ahead and I cleaned up the mating surface on the engine head. There was some old gasket around the exhaust port, so I cleaned it up. Now it's nice and smooth. And basically this side is all set. So I'm just gonna go ahead and prep the intake manifold, remove this little tab here, and then we can get ready to install everything back together. And I'm gonna go ahead and clean the throttle body and all the sensors just because I have it right here and it's easy to get to right now. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this and prep it, and then we can go ahead and install it back to the Jeep. Alright guys, quick update. So I got the exhaust manifold back on with the gasket. Now I needed to take off the heat shield just because it was getting in the way and was actually creating more of an issue getting these two bolts here, one here and one here. The heat shield was getting in the way just because it's slightly thicker, so it was giving me less clearance, so I just remove it entirely. I don't really need it. I thought of leaving it on just so it can reduce heat, but it's whatever. It's annoying keeping it on. Alright, so I got the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold bolted on. I used this diagram here for the torque sequence, and I torqued them down to 30 foot-pounds. I also connected the flange nut down there, so now the exhaust manifold is connected to the rest of the exhaust and it's nice and sealed. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together. Alright, so from here everything should be easy. It's just like when I removed the head on the 4.0. All we're gonna do now is just connect everything back together. First we're gonna put the fuel rail and the fuel injectors in, then we're gonna put the wire harness, and then we're gonna put the throttle body, and finally the power steering pump. So this part's super easy. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Alright guys, I managed to connect everything back together and I started up the Jeep. So far the engine is running solid, the RPMs is stable, and I don't see or hear any smoke escaping, and the rattling noise I heard earlier is gone. Now I'm just gonna take the car out for a couple of miles and I'm just gonna double check it to make sure the exhaust is fine and that there's no exhaust leak from the manifold. Alright guys, I'm just gonna end the video here. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and let me know what you want me to do next for this Jeep. Alright guys, have a good one. Bye bye.